Hello and welcome to the ARC studio. I'm Chris Canane, Research Director here at ARC. Today we'll be discussing the managed transportation services market. Joining me is Steve Banker, Vice President of Supply Chain Management at ARC, and he's just completed a study on this topic. Steve, thank you for joining me today. Can you explain how a managed transportation arrangement works?
Well, when companies want to generate freight savings while not hurting service, there's two primary ways they go. One is that they implement a transportation management system, and their own planners use that system to improve their transportation. The other thing shippers can do is they can work with a logistics service provider, and that logistics service provider has a control tower where their planners reside, and they use the logistics service provider uses their own transportation management solution, and they optimize moves on behalf of the customers.
What sort of expertise does ARC have in managed transportation services?
Well, ARC really has very deep expertise when it comes to transportation technologies and transportation services. We've been covering the transportation management systems market for over 20 years. We've been covering managed transportation services for at least 5 years, and we're the only firm that covers this area. We do a variety of forms of work. We do global market studies. We do best practice and ROI studies. And actually, my colleague Chris Cunan is in the midst of updating our ROI work around managed transportation at this very moment. And we do both supplier selection guides and or if companies want a little hand holding through the process, we're willing to go and have a deeper custom relationship with that client.
What are some of the main dimensions to be considered in selecting a managed transportation supplier?
Well, in our supplier selection guide, we have over 100 dimensions around a supplier's capabilities. Everything from technology to how they support continuous improvement to their business model. Just as an example, managed transportation service providers can have one of three business models. They can be a big broker, and managed transportation services is the brokerage can support that operation. Or they could be a carrier, and they could run dedicated lanes on behalf of their customers as part of a managed transportation arrangement, or they could be neither a carrier or a broker, and they're being paid. This managed transportation service model, the MTS provider is paid only for the planning that they do. Now, it's not true that one business model is better than the other. They all have their pros and cons. You just have to understand which one fits your situation the best.
How does a supplier selection guide differ from the Magic Quadrant?
Well, tools like Gartner's Magic Quadrant or Forrester Wave are certainly interesting and useful tools. The analyst firms pick dimensions that they believe are important, and they rank various supplier solution providers on where they fit based on their criteria. And for example, in a Magic Quadrant, the further up and to the right you are, the higher that vendor is rated. A supplier selection guide is different. First of all, ARC is the only one that has any sort of supplier criteria around managed transportation. But then we approach it differently than through a Magic Quadrant kind of analysis. We have over 100 features and functions that could be used by a shipper to help select the right partner for them. But um, the shipper can go down that list of criteria and say, you know, for us, this criterion is very important. For us, this criterion doesn't matter, and you end up with a customized set of criteria that fits what you're trying to do as a company. We enrich the supplier selection guide with data from our global market studies. So if you're looking for example for a managed transportation provider with domain expertise in food and beverage, we can tell you who the leading providers in the food and beverage industry are.
This concludes our presentation on the managed transportation services market. Listeners who have any questions or would like additional information should contact the study author directly or reach out to a client manager here at ARC. Thank you for your attention and have a great day.